everyone. I'm Necromancer. Let's draw.
Welcome to a very special Spooktober episode where I will take advantage of a popularized Christian holiday and the general aesthetic of the common Tumblr cottage witch to make some art. I obviously don't know when you, people of the future, are watching this, but the video is planned to be released on the spookiest of days in the Western world, October 31st. More commonly known as the pumpkin holiday, or the day where everyone gets to dress slutty and no one judging them, both things I appreciate. Our brave protagonists are on the pumpkin side of the spectrum, dressed obviously as a scared wizard / garden gnome and a hyped up red elephant. Both are jumpy plumbers, each in his own way, and also saviors of a mushroom-filled and turtle-infested multiverse. I am of course talking about the unmistakable super brothers with their remarkable bond, Greg and Wirt, from the masterpiece miniseries Over the Garden Wall. If you never watched it, stop this video and go watch it. Now. I mean, right now. Not joking. I'll wait. Oh, you're back. Or still here. I have no way of knowing. Glad to have you, either way. As I said, today I'm drawing Mario and Luigi entering the dark forest accompanied by Princess Beatrice, Peach, in bird form. Now this wouldn't be a spooky video like I promised without the notorious antagonist of the series, the Beast, looming menacingly over our heroes, reaching with his sharp dragon turtle claws to snatch their souls and turn them to Edelwood for the woodsman, who then will turn it into oil for his lamp. Yes, Bowser's plans are indeed insidious, but don't worry, our heroes don't know when to quit, which is a good thing. In an additional effort to thwart Greg and Wirt and the magical bird and make them hurt or at least scared, Bowser sent some undead turds. More commonly known in the Mario multiverse are dry bones. These demon turtles called Koopas are bound to undead servitude and will magically reform even after having their bones scattered about. I do want to talk about the original Japanese mythology assholes, the Kappas, who are the inspirations for the Mario Koopas. They are described as being sickly green, about the size of a child, and have a snap turtle and frog-like features like webbed hands and feet and slimy skin. And if that's not enough, they are said to become harmful when not respected as gods, and tend to drag children who play by the river into the depths. There are many more parts to their folklore descriptions, much wilder than that, like a bowl-shaped indent in their skull that is full of water that kills them if it empties. They're fucking wild. Go read about them. Grab a cucumber when you go. You'll need it. One last thing about Kappa and the plausible inspiration for Bowser. The king of the Kappa clan was a dude called Kuzenbo who was defeated by a guy named Kato and an army of monkeys. But that's enough about evil water turtle man. Back to the drawing. Scattered on the forest floor around Gregio and Wirtuigi are a plethora of pumpkins that will later be colored a seasonal orange. Also, some mushrooms, which I will color red, green and blue for the super mushroom, one-up mushroom and the mini mushroom respectively. Next, I start to plan a frame-like shadow blocking for Bowser to bring in a powerful dramatic visual effect of the walls closing in. During the sketch I simply block in black blobs, but since I ignore them in the line art phase, they will only be a reminder for the coloring process and we still have about 8 minutes until then. I tried to use negative space created by Bowser's shadow frame to portray branches that meld with his clawed hands and line with his shell. Like the beast from Over the Garden Wall, I wanted to make him feel like a part of the forest itself and not just an inhabitant or more probably invader. That's why his usual small cow horns have taken the shape of antler-like branches, and I don't show his entire form. With sketching, repositioning, and resizing done, I still have the wrong letters on Greg's and Wirt's hats, but I decide to go forth to the line art. For the line art process, in order to mimic both Over the Garden Walls and the Super Mario Bros. Round and soft styles, I crank up the smoothing on the brush all the way to 100%. I also turn off the pressure to size so I have a consistent line weight, at least on the characters. After toying a little too much with Greggio's mustache style, I go and add Jason Thunderburker, our frog, wearing a spooky Koopa costume. I just love the way that his round shape fits perfectly under Greg's noodly arm and that he has a vacant 1,000-yard stare like he didn't have a single thought cross his mind in the past few years. Lining Greg's plump figure pointing merrily into the depth of the dark forest is rather straightforward, and I move over to line Wirtuigi. Now, I wanted to make fun of Wirt's name because it's a weird name, and it feels weird in the mouth to speak it out loud. But then, I looked into the meaning of the name, and once again was gut-punched by this show's strange attention to detail. For Wirtuigi's line, I again start with a very round head and a vacant look that sort of reminds me of Morty from Rick and. Here as well, I struggle with the shape of the mustache, trying to strike a midpoint between the trademarked Luigi bra-shaped mustache and Over the Garden Walls whimsy. Beatrice's design is the simplest of the bunch, since I basically drew Beatrice and threw in a crown. Her meshed up qualities really pop only when I reach the coloring phase, and color her not as a bluebird, but as a pink one. I tried to think who would turn Princess Peach into a bird, and the Magikoopa came to mind. He's already on Bowser's side, and maybe she even let him transform her as a sacrifice in order to save the Toads from that week's threat. I take a quick 17 hours to line the rib cages on the dry bone Koopas before taking another 22 hours for the Shroomkins, populating the forest and filling blank spaces in the drawing as a side effect. Last in the line art is the Bowser Beast Forest Frame Hybrid that let me go a bit more loose with the lines and have the branches seem naturally disordered. Except I lied. What's really last is Greg's rock. Then we're off to coloring.
It's a rock fact!
The first important step in coloring an autumn aesthetic drawing is getting the right color scheme, preferably one that makes you feel like there's a drizzle outside and you just drank a warm cup of tea. Now, being a disembodied skull and having no eyes in my sockets makes it a bit difficult for me to see if I got the colors right, so I just grabbed the first Google result and hoped for the best. At this point, everything starts to come together, as I color Greggio red and Wirtuigi green, as well as giving them the grey-blue jeans overalls and their iconic white gloves. I also make a point to color the mustaches a different tone of brown than their hair, to really make it look like a costume. But truth be told, my own beard has like 4 shades of dark brown in it, so there's really no way of knowing if these children actually have facial hair. Princess Beatrice gets her pinks and blonde yellows, then I move over to color the rest of the scene, starting with a brown base. I want to create the illusion of them entering deeper into the dark forest and into Bowser's grasp, so I create a light tunnel that slowly grows darker towards the edges of the frame. The frame itself, including Bowser's hands, I keep a solid black, and the center of the light tunnel gets a near white yellow and a sliver of true white. For now, everything is just blobbed in haphazardly, but later I'm going to blend everything to have nice and soft transitions. The tips of the branches each get their respective shades of yellows and browns, and the environment details start to get their oranges and greens. Greg's rock gets its face painted, then the mushroom gets their off-white base in preparation for the cap coloring procedure, where they'll get their special abilities. This rotting pumpkin patch finally and ironically comes to life with some pumpkin colored colors all over the body and the dried up stem and leaves. Unfortunately, I have some real life references in my living room for dried up leaves of a once lively and vibrant green plant. Fortunately, I also have references for many verdant and vibrant living plants which I pointedly ignore as I draw the short-handed bushes. Next to be blobbed is Branch Bowser bulky bust, starting with the strands of standing hair in a fiery flare of not quite terracotta red. Bowser's normal color scheme matches quite well with the seasonal palette, being soft reds, yellows and greens accented with only white and black. In any other scenario that'd be great, but since I'm trying to actually blend him into the background frame and not the core piece, lots of these colors end up mostly wasted. I do color him in a way that looks like he's lit from below, or rather from the center. This way I can show off his colors while also having a dramatic contrasting frame and a light tunnel illusion like I mentioned before. Last to be colored are the dry bones, who get the expected bone white along with a grey shell and some yellowish tints. Then I do some drawing white color cleanup before moving ahead to the in-softening process, where I blend everything to look deceptively comfy. I pretend I know what I'm doing by using a foliage mixing brush to give the trampled road the texture of fallen leaves appropriate for the fall. I then proceed to show I don't really know what I'm doing, as I use the same mixing brush for the entirety of the blending process, regardless of the intended texture. That just goes to show you that sometimes you can fit a round block into the square hole. It just takes having no clue what should fit there in the first place. The rest of the texturing and blending process is quite straightforward, but I find it calming rather than tedious. So instead of cutting it, I'll leave you with some music and we'll get back soon with some shadows. Well, I lied. Before we go on to the shadows, we should have some light. Rays of the setting sun filtering through the tree line and leafless branches to give an otherworldly and magical feel. I do that by drawing some straight lines and following the contour of the objects in the frame. Then, using motion blur and a Gaussian blur to make everything hazy. Now for the shadows, I basically selected and blobbed each of the brothers' silhouettes, then flipped it and stretched it to all hells before blurring it slightly and lowering the opacity. I added some deep shadows on the main characters for a soft rim light effect and basic shadows for the environment inhabitants like the Koopas and mushrooms. And we're done. Let's take a look. That's it, everyone. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope you're watching this from a cozy and comfortable place and that you are safe. If you're following me on Instagram, you've probably seen my contemplations regarding the future content I plan for this channel. But if you don't follow me or didn't see it, don't worry, I'll reveal all the details in a special announcement video. Regardless, you can be sure that I'll continue to upload voiced over art time lapses. If you want to support me so I could make more stuff like this or like the future content I plan, you can donate on my Patreon. I mostly put there memes and sneak peeks from the creation process of my videos, but once more people join in, I'm planning to expand this list. If you don't want or can't join me for any reason, you can still support me if you hit like, subscribe and share the video to your friends or foes. It's free and it could really help me if you would. Also, I'd love to hear your feedback so I could get better as an artist and a YouTuber and we could all get better stuff out of it. In the meantime, thanks again for watching. Tell me in the comments what you want to see next. And for now, bye!